Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
Are you fine?
Fine, thank you.
Great.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Well, it's still the afternoon, you know, as we're already in spring. Okay. Hello. Fantastic. Candela, who remembers, and she already wrote her name in the chat. Excellent. She knows that her teacher doesn't have good memory. So yes, please remember to write your names. And yes, Paula, who is my assistant, she's helping me a lot. Yes, please remember, because you know what is the thing is that when I'm explaining or something, I completely forget about saving the chat. And by the time I remember, it's too late. Okay? Well, wait a second, that there are a few more people joining us. Well, okay. I think that we can start, even if a few more people will be joining us, we can start, yes? Well, the idea is, first of all, to check the sentences, the 4 sentences that you had to analyze. And then, if we have time, and I think that we will, I want to explain to you a few things about paragraph structure and something called the topic sentence in a paragraph, okay? So far, I have corrected 15 of your writings, yes? The thing is that until yesterday, 7 people had handed in their writings, and suddenly today, there were like more than 30. So, of course, I didn't have the time to correct them all before the class, yes? The ones that I have corrected so far are better, yes? Are better than the previous ones, are better as regards punctuation, are better as regards ideas, related to the topic, okay? This is excellent because that's the idea, okay? That writing, learning how to write better is a process. And well, if we focus on one thing at a time, I think that the results show. I just wanted to comment one thing before we start on syntactic analysis, because there was one case in the writing. Remember the activity that I gave you 2 classes ago, the one in which I gave you a topic, and then you had some sentences, and you had to identify which ones were related and which ones were not. In one of the cases, there was one that was very tricky, but at the same time, it's important, and this time it happened to somebody. Because if I say, like, I don't know, a letter or a visit from his brother was never good news. I think that is something like that was the topic. And then I wrote about Susan's brother, but that's her, yes? Her brother, not his brother. So if you write about Susan's brother, you're writing off topic, okay? And in the topic that you had to write this last week, what you had to write about was like, it was the weirdest thing I had ever seen. It was in the first person, and you have to respect that. Maybe you can tell the story in the third person and then include some like inner dialogue of someone saying to themselves like, oh, that's the weirdest thing I have ever seen, Peter said to himself. So with a twist like that, you can adapt it. But if all you do is tell a story in the third person, yes, then it's off topic, because the sentence was that it was the weirdest thing I had ever seen. So it's on purpose, okay? You have to pay attention. Also, there are some people who start talking, telling a story, and they talk about a cousin, for example, and you keep mixing him and her and his, and okay, you have to make up your minds, okay, about who you're thinking about. The person reading can get confused and not understand the idea. And as a teacher, as I also have to pay attention to language, I don't know if those are distraction mistakes, or if maybe you're not so sure about the use of pronouns and possessive adjectives. Okay, so these are the types of things that you have to correct when you reread what you have written. Okay, so these were a couple of general things I wanted to say about the writing, but the most important comment is that the ones I have corrected so far show an improvement compared to the previous ones. Okay, so well done. Now you have to be patient with me, because taking your advice, I'm going to share the screen and we're going to try to do the syntactic analysis using Jamboard. Yeah, so you can see it, but it's kind of awkward, so be patient, okay? Let me share the screen. Okay. Remember that now, as I'm sharing the screen, I can only see a few of you. So if someone wants to ask something or say something, maybe you're raising your hand and I don't see you because I see only 4 of you here. So if you have something to ask or whatever, just turn on your microphone and say, hello, my name is, and ask whatever you want to ask, okay? Good. So the first sentence that you had to analyze was, the girl sent a package to her mother last week. When we talked about this, about analyzing the sentences, we said that, there is one word that we have to identify first to start the analysis. What is the word that we have to identify first?
The main verb.
The verb.
The verb, exactly. So, what is the verb here?
Send.
Sent.
Send. Excellent. There we are. So, this is the verb. I'm sorry about my typing, my writing there. Okay, that's the verb, yes? So now that we have the verb, the second step will be to say, okay, what is the subject and what is the predicate?
The girl. The subject.
Very good.
The package.
So here, very good. Ideally, we have to mark the subject, okay, and the predicate. You imagine that this is a straight line, okay? Subject and predicate. You have to mark this on top of the sentence so that you have all the space below to mark all the other things that we are going to start identifying. Today, we identify verb, subject, predicate, and we have to try to see what type of verb it is. So we need to understand what are the things that come after the verb. Okay? So, can you say the girl sent? Would that sentence be complete?
No.
So, what do we have here? What do we have after sent?
A direct object.
What is the direct object? The object that is affected by the action?
A package.
Very good. This is a, ouch.
Direct object.
Very good. This is a direct object. What about to her mother? What is that?
Indirect.
An indirect subject.
Excellent.
Can it also be a prepositional indirect object?
Okay, yes, excellent. The thing is that when you mark it, you say indirect object. You need to identify that it is a prepositional indirect object for what we are going to start doing next class, that is to start analyzing inside, for example, I have to analyze the structure of the direct object. I have to analyze the structure of the indirect object, okay?
Okay, I did this with all the I don't remember the rules you gave us last week, that's why.
Very good, yeah, this is a prepositional, if you want to say, the prepositional indirect object, exactly. What about last week? Is it essential?
No.
No,
An
very good. Very good. This is an adverbial adjunct of
time.
Of time. Very good. So you say AA and a T from the time. Now that we have completed this is as far as we're going to go today, but there's one more thing that we have to do and to identify. Now that we know that this verb takes a direct object and an indirect object, we can say what type of verb it is. What type of verb?
Transitive.
Transitive verb.
By transitive.
Very good. Remember that it can be called by or die transitive verb, okay? It's a bitransitive verb of
incomplete predication.
complete. Complete. The bitransitive is always of complete. Look at that. Doesn't that look gorgeous? What do you think? I feel like an artist here. I feel like splashing some paint on it, you know? Okay.
Yes.
Any doubts in this sentence?
No.
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 Fantastic. We move on to the next one. The actress became the star she had always dreamt of. The actress became the star that she had always dreamt of. So here we have to be careful because we have more than one verb. But there is one that is the most important verb of the sentence. Which is?
Became.
Very good. Became. The actress, can we say the actress became?
No.
No. The actress became the star she had always dreamt of. What we have after became, is it a direct object? Is it a thing affected by the action?
Subjective complement.
What type of complement?
Subjective.
Very good. Very good. Because became is what type of verb? These verbs that show process.
Intransitive verb.
Very good. It is an intransitive verb because it doesn't take an object. Exactly, but it is of incomplete predication because we need a complement, as you very well said, to complete the idea. The verb became, like the verb to be, yes, these are verbs that are always incomplete verbs of incomplete predication. It's useful for you to remember that. Remember that last class we said that there are some verbs that can behave in different ways depending on the sentence. But these verbs are always incomplete verbs of incomplete predication. Okay? So if you remember that, it will be a lot easier to analyze the sentence. Then we will go back to the other verb. Now that we have identified these, can you tell me what the subject and what the predicate are?
The actress.
Subject.
The actress is the subject, and everything else
Became the star.
became the star she had always dreamt of. All the rest is the predicate. Yes?
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, we said, yes, Iliana already said it, but let's let everybody think about this. If became is an intransitive verb of incomplete predication, what is what follows that? The star that she had always...
A complement.
It's a subject complement, exactly. It is a subject complement. Yes? It is a complement that complement as of the difference between an adjunct and a complement is that the adjunct is always optional and the complement is always necessary. And we say subject complement as opposed to object complement that we saw last class, because this is giving me more information about the subject. That's why this is the object complement. Sorry, subject complement. Okay?
Yes.
This is the subject complement. Clear?
Yes.
Yes.
That she had always.
Okay, now we go there. Yes.
If only I would have the start. Could
Sorry?
be if that she had always dreamed of.
What is that?
If I suppose that she had always dreamed of is not there, only the start.
No, all that is a subject complement, all of it, the star. Because if you say the star, what star? The star that she had always dreamt of. That she had always dreamt of is giving you information about the star.
Okay.
We are going to start analyzing this next week. That is a post modifier. The star that she had always dreamt of is a noun phrase. The head the head, yes, the head is el núcleo, the head is star,
Yes.
it's a noun. You have a pre-modifier that is de, and that she had always dreamt of is a post-modifier,
Okay.
okay?
Yes.
Now, what we have to start doing little by little is to analyze all the sentence. So if inside the sentence we have another clause, remember that a clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb, we also have to analyze that. Yes, Carolina just asked me and I told her that she had always dreamt of has the function of post-modifier. Yes, but that post-modifier is a clause, so we can analyze it inside. So what we do is we transcribe it as I did it here so that we can also analyze it. Yes, here in this sentence, or in this clause, I'm sorry, not in this sentence, in this clause, what is the verb?
Had.
Had.
Only have?
Dreamt.
So
Had
had
dreamt.
dreamt.
All this is what is called a verb phrase. A verb phrase.
Okay.
Why phrase? Because it's more than one word. Dreamt of, remember that it's a prepositional verb. It's a verb that always takes a preposition. Yes? And the had is there because of the verbal tense. So had dreamt of is a verb phrase where we have had, that is an auxiliary verb, and dreamt of, and dreamt of, that is it's a full lexical verb that is a prepositional verb. Okay? What did she always dream of? What did she always dream of?
Becoming a star.
Very good. And what word here refers to that? She had always dreamt of becoming a star. What word here in this that she had always dreamt of refers to that idea? That.
The star.
Excellent.
That.
But that is not there. You are replacing the star. What word do you use? You use that. Do you remember relative clauses? Yes? This is a relative clause. Remember that relative clauses are groups of words that have a subject, that have a verb that writes a clause, and that the function is that of an adjective, that is to modify a noun. That is a relative clause, okay? So here we have a relative clause, and I don't know if you remember from what you studied last year and from what you did of the grammar book in the first part of the year when you were teacherless, yes? That in relative clauses, you always have a relative pronoun, yes, that is replacing a noun, the noun that you are using the relative clause to modify. So in this case, that here, yes, is working, yes, it's a relative pronoun that is placed there to connect, yes, if you look at the screen, I'm circling it, this that connects the relative clause to the noun it refers to. So really, when we try to analyze the relative clause outside the sentence, this that would belong here at the end. She had always dreamt of becoming a star. And what function does it have inside the relative clause? We know that inside the relative clause, had dreamt of, sorry?
No.
You dream of subject, no? If the verb is dreamt, who dreamt?
She.
She. So the subject is she. This is the subject of the relative clause. And this is the predicate of the relative clause. So she is the subject.
That would be a direct object.
Excellent, excellent. Imagine that you say, no, you use the same verb in another sentence, yes, to see it more clearly. I dreamt of chocolate last night. I dreamt of chocolate. What is chocolate? The thing that I dreamt about. Okay? So that's very good. That's a direct object. So if this is the direct object, what kind of verb is dreamt?
Transitive.
Very good. It is a transitive verb of complete predication. If you reread the material from last class where you have the class, no, not from last class, from a couple of classes ago, when you have the classification of verbs, it explains that prepositional verbs are always transitive. Sometimes they can be bitransitive, but they always take at least one object. Okay?
Yes.
So again, these tips, these rules help. When you are not sure of how to analyze something, no, yes, but this is a prepositional verb, it has to be transitive. So you don't have to think, is it a complement, is it a direct object? No, it's a direct object, because dreamt of is a prepositional verb. Okay?
Yes.
Any doubts in this one? Okay, let's move on to the next. Is it better like this, like looking at the sentence?
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yes, yes.
I miss the board, you know, I miss like writing and like throwing arrows everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, sentence number 3. The group of friends talked for hours. What is the verb?
Talk.
Very good.
Talked.
Very good. So what is the subject and what is the predicate?
The group of friends.
The group of friends.
Subject.
This is the subject and this is the predicate. You see in what order you have to analyze the sentence. First the verb. When you have the verb, then you identify the subject and the predicate. And then you start analyzing what you have inside. Would you say the group of friends talked?
Yes.
Yes.
So if that is complete in itself,
Yes.
what kind of verb is talked? Is it transitive or intransitive?
Intransitive.
Intransitive, very good. It doesn't take an object.
Intransitive.
And is it of complete or incomplete predication?
Complete.
Complete predication.
Complete, excellent. We don't need anything else. Intransitive verbs of complete predication are completing themselves and they don't need anything to complete the meaning. You can have, as you have here, what is 4 hours?
An adverbial agent.
Adverbial.
Excellent. You could say adverbial adjunct of time or adverbial adjunct of duration. It's the same. I mean, what you need to specify here is that it's an adverbial adjunct, which means that it is not essential, that this is extra information. Okay? Next class, we are going to start analyzing what happens inside here when you have the group of friends. How do we analyze that group of words? But the purpose up to today is to analyze what we are analyzing here. Verb, subject, predicate, and the structure that follows the verb so that we can identify what type of verb it is. Any questions in number 3?
No.
Very good. So far, we have been analyzing simple sentences, okay? Simple sentences that have one clause, okay? But what happened here? I warned you that I was going to include this sentence here because it's simple, but what is the main verb?
Felt.
Only felt?
Oh, there are 2 clauses.
Motivated.
There are 2
Excellent.
clauses.
Okay. As Caroline, should I say? Because of, okay, as Caroline has said, yes, both felt and were, yes, are main verbs because we have 2 clauses. What you have to think here, and this is the material that you have to read, part of what you have to read for next class, the thing is that when in a sentence you have 2 clauses, or you can have more, there are 2 possibilities. The clauses can be coordinate clauses. Coordinate clauses, that means that they have the same level, the same hierarchy. What are the linkers, the connectors that can make clauses be like this? And, or, but. When you have 2 clauses connected with and or but, what you have are coordinate clauses. Okay?
Yes.
This is something that I usually correct in the writings, something that I have been telling you about as regards punctuation. Many people connect this with a comma, and that is not correct. If you have clauses, if you have a clause with a subject and a verb, and then you have another clause with another subject and another verb, you cannot connect them with a comma. Remember that you had 3 options. You can use a stop, so you have 2 separate sentences. You can use a semicolon, that for syntactic analysis, it's the same as a stop, yes? Or you can use a linker, a connector. And then you have, as you have in this case, 2 coordinate clauses. In sentence number 2, that we had this relative clause, remember that she became the star that she had always dreamt of? There you have 2 clauses, but they are not at the same level. What you have there is the main clause, she became the star, and what you have there is what is called a subordinate clause. A subordinate clause. It's lower in the hierarchy. Because you could have a sentence saying, she became a star, but you could not have that she always dreamt of as a sentence. The linker that, for example, always shows that you have a subordinate clause, a clause that depends on a bigger one, okay? So, we have 2 clauses here. Teachers felt enthusiastic and students were motivated. What you have here is a linker, a connector. Later on, we are going to see how connectors are classified. For the time being, we only say that it is a coordinate, a connector, yes? Linker or connector. And then what you do is you analyze the 2 sentences. In teachers felt enthusiastic. What is the subject of felt?
Teachers.
Teachers.
Teacher.
Teachers is the subject, felt enthusiastic is a predicate. And in the other clause, students is the subject and were motivated is the predicate. Analyzing the first clause, teachers felt enthusiastic. Can you just say teachers felt?
No.
No. But is enthusiastic a thing, an object affected by an action? No, so it's not an object.
No.
What is it?
A subjective
Complement.
Excellent, a subjective complement.
A complement.
Excellent. It is a complement, and we say that it's a subject complement because it's giving me information about the subject, about the teachers. So if we have a subject complement, the verb felt is an intransitive verb of incomplete predication, okay? And in the case of students felt motivated, can you say students were?
No.
No. So what is motivated?
Also,
Another subjective
a
complement.
subject.
Excellent. So if this is a subject complement, we know that this is an intransitive verb of incomplete predication. Okay? So, for the time being, do you feel right? Are you doing this approximately well?
Yes.
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 Okay. Well, as I keep telling you every single class, remember that, I mean, what we are doing now may be hard now, but even if we continue adding things, the practice will make you feel a lot more confident. And as I told you last class, for example, you can start making your own lists of verbs, like knowing that be, become, etc. are intransitive of incomplete. Yes. That the verb dream of is a prepositional verb, and if it's a prepositional verb, it's always transitive. These are the rules that you should write down and highlight, because otherwise you could have doubt. Sometimes it's like, is it an object? Is it a complement? Well, sometimes you have help to decide that, okay? So Any questions that you want to ask about the syntactic analysis?
Yes, Santiago is asking something on the chat.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. I don't understand the difference between an object and a subjective complement. The subjective complement gives information about the subject. The object complement gives information about the object. And in the sentences that we analyzed today, whenever we had one of these verbs of incomplete predication, they were intransitive. There was no object. So if there is no object, it cannot be an object complement. Okay? Later on, we are going to see, last class we saw, if you see the recording of last class we saw some examples. For example, I found the box empty. I found the box empty. The word empty is not giving information about I, that is the subject. It is giving information about the box, that is the direct object. Okay? So when the complement gives me information about the object, it's an object complement. If it gives me information about the subject, it's a subject complement. Okay? Is that clear, Santiago? Yes, yes. Okay, good. Okay. Any other question about syntactic analysis? Yes, Melody. Melody wants to ask something. Why enthusiastic is not an adverbial adjunct of manner? The sentence, because Melody is asking about teachers felt enthusiastic. And she's asking why enthusiastic is not an adverbial adjunct of manner. The thing is that when you say teachers felt enthusiastic, you cannot just say teachers felt. That sentence is not complete. The verb feel always requires a complement. And when the information that you have is essential, it's a complement and not an adjunct. That is the central difference between an adjunct and a complement. The adjunct is extra information that you could leave out, whereas the complement is essential. If you have an intransitive verb of incomplete predication, you need a complement. So the word enthusiastic could be an adverbial adjunct of manner in another context, and it wouldn't be enthusiastic, it would be enthusiastically. You need an adverb, not an adjective. Okay? Exactly. Yes, yes. Because of the verb determines that this enthusiastic is essential. Any other doubt about syntactic analysis? Okay.
Is there, just a question, is there any site or link or book we could use for further practice? With a key maybe to help us?
Not that I have found. I am using the booklet that students usually use in first year that was written by Ms. Policastro. Usually students buy the book, but of course that this year that's not possible, so she sent me the PDF, and what I'm doing is sending you like one part at a time, depending on what I want you to focus on, okay? I will continue trying to find something online, but I haven't found anything. And also you have to be careful because there are some differences, not all this, for example, compared to when I studied many years ago, there have been a few changes. So, I mean, you have to be careful with the source that you check.
Thank you.
Okay. Once we have incorporated more elements, I will give you more sentences to analyze. But at this point, I don't know if, for example, if you check today's homework, I have added a book that you must read. So, I mean, I prefer to go, as I told you before, one step at a time. We are incorporating one concept at a time. So I prefer to give you 4 sentences, and so that you can really think about them, than to give you 20 sentences that we would not have the time to check. Okay? Anybody, any other question about this? Okay.
No, but
yes,
Miss,
yes.
we only have
Zooms on Friday, even though we are going to start reading now? Or we're going to have a second?
The thing is that as regards finding a second day, it's almost impossible because everybody has different days, different timetables. So don't worry. If we need to, we will add something, okay? But for the time being, we are doing fine. If it's necessary, we will organize maybe on Thursday evenings an extra one, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So we have less than 5 minutes, so I want to explain some ideas because then you have 2 writing activities. Don't worry because they are very short. You only have to identify something. You don't have to write 2 paragraphs, okay? So one thing that you have to take into account, okay? What is a paragraph? Most people say that a paragraph is a group of sentences, but that is an incomplete definition because a paragraph is a group of sentences that develops one main idea. So imagine that you're telling a story. If you're going to change the idea, you have already introduced, for example, the characters and the place and everything, and you're going to start talking about what happened, that should be a different paragraph. Please pay a lot of attention to punctuation. Do you know what indentation is? Indentation? Sangría. Do you know what that is in Spanish? You know that when you start a paragraph, you should leave a space at the beginning. Yeah. Only in the first sentence of each paragraph. But this is something that almost nobody is paying attention to, and it's an important rule of punctuation. Whenever you start a paragraph, you leave indentation, you leave a space, then you start writing, then when you write a full stop and you go to the next line for another paragraph, again, you must use indentation, okay? Now, another important thing that you have to pay attention to is that every paragraph has a topic sentence. The topic sentence is the sentence that tells me what the paragraph is going to be about. A good topic sentence cannot be too general or too specific. Yes? Imagine if I tell you imagine that you have to write not a story, but you have to write an essay that is a piece of writing of opinion. And the sentence is, drinking coffee is bad. This sentence is too general, yes? Because then how are you going to support that? Ideally, the topic sentence has to be a little bit more narrow. And I could say something like, drinking 4 cups of coffee a day is bad for pregnant women. So there, it's a lot narrower, okay? So in that paragraph, I'm going to explain. There's a ring. I think it's Principal de Gracielas. I will try to silence her. Well, I never find in this moment the button to silence her. Well, okay. So, I'm sorry. So, in the topic sentence, you present the topic, you narrow the idea, and then you have to make sure that all the sentences in that paragraph connect directly to that central idea. So when you do the editing of your own work and you reread, you have to make sure that you read every sentence and then you read your topic sentence and you say, is this connected? Yes. Is this connected? No, not so well. No. So this one I will leave out. Either I eliminate it or I leave it for another paragraph. Yes. Even if this is more connected to writing essays that are pieces of writing of opinion, in narratives, the same thing happens because sometimes you use a lot of words, including details that tell me nothing about the story. Okay? So if you have to write 100 words, please make sure that the details that you are giving me, add to the central idea of the story. Okay? Well, time is almost up. Yes? I'll see you again next Friday. And if you have any doubts or anything, you know that you can contact me through the platform. Okay? Yes?
Okay.
Okay.
Have a wonderful weekend, yes?
Thank you.
Same
You
to
too.
you. Same to everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Take care.
You too.